Mr. Texas of 247 Sports. Welcome, Peroni. Aggies across the nation are swooning.
No.
The various. Like, oh my God,
I'm not
Peroni!
sure. I don't believe I've ever been swooned over.
So welcome. We're just talking recruiting. Just great stories from the past. We've known each other a long time, and just the crazy recruiting that has happened through the city of Houston. I know you cover the state of Texas, but we've seen a lot of players coming through here.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a ton of players, hundreds of players.
No, for sure. Remember, I mean, a guy you and I both knew real well. I mean, Sam McGuffey was the first guy really to go viral with highlight tape. That was before Huddle, just, hey, let me throw some tape on YouTube, and he get millions of views.
Wasn't that a Todd Freed video?
It was a Todd Freed video.
Oh, yeah, the whoop.
Yeah, he had the jump. He had the leap. The first kind of hurdle, right? The first hurdle. And, man, he was the wildest guy to cover recruiting.
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah,
He would disappear for days. He would reemerge and do like a backflip off a car or something.
He took a last second visit to Cal back when you could do that, and it didn't sign on signing day. I don't know if you remember that.
Wasn't he in like a movie theater or something like that?
No, so he skipped school the day. He was down to Cal in Michigan. He was committed to Michigan, but wasn't sure, and so skipped school and whatever. But Michigan got him assigned at like 11 p.m. They said go to Kinko's and fax us in, and he did. But it almost was Cal.
That was a wild story.
This is my biggest question about recruiting. It's 2021. Why are we still using the fax machine?
I don't think they actually do.
I don't know.
I think it's still they take a picture of their letter and they scan that in, and then you have to mail in the hard copies. But I don't think it's actually faxed anymore.
And also,
sadly,
I think that this really the mystery, they actually signed at 11 o'clock. Well, they have already sent their letter in at 7 in the morning.
No, you can send it in at 7 o'clock your time. So yeah, when these kids Tumishe Adelia, when he announced at 7 p.m. Right after he said, I'm going to A&M. A&M released, hey, we just signed this, guys. I go, well, that was awful quick, especially since I just watched you sign those fake papers to me, Shay. Fake papers over there.
They had that tweet in the drafts.
Yeah, no, 100%.
100%.
Yeah, because if you really send it in, they have to, compliance has to go through it and everything, so they can't release it that soon.
Well, it's 2021. 2020 kids, I felt like really got the raw end of the stick just because of COVID. We're kind of coming out of it now. Do you feel like these 2021 kids, there's a bunch of camps going on? What's the recruiting like right now, on a national scene and locally?
It's still going to be really tough. They will get to go, assuming that the NCAA does lift the dead period starting June 1st, which everybody's assuming that. People are taking official visits in June. Assuming that happens, they will get to go to camps. So that'd be good. But the fact that college coaches can't be on the road this spring is a killer. Because that's whenever kids get noticed. A coach will go see the 5-star and they'll also happen to notice his teammates. Or, they want to see a kid in person. How big is he really? Well, they can't do that now. So that's tough for them. So they will get to go to camps, but there's only so many camps you can go to. And how does a kid at, College Park know? What if Utah's interested in him? He doesn't know that, get to Utah and go to San Diego State and all these different things. So it's really tough. 23, oh man, I'm getting old. 23, that class will be more normal. They'll be able to go to camps this summer. They'll be able to have spring ball with coaches there. But these kids are going to basically sort of have to recruit. Unless you're a 5-star or whatever, you're going to have to recruit the schools instead of the other way around. Let them know you're interested.
And I think too, with the camps being opened up and visits and stuff like that being able to start, I think maybe we won't see as many early commitments because there were so many of those early commitments that we were like, oh my gosh, why are these guys committing so early? But they were more scared because they couldn't go travel anywhere. But now you got guys like Cam Dewberry and Kelvin Banks and these guys that are going to go actually visit and make visits this summer.
Well, yeah, so the 22 class has been way slower than other classes.
Yeah.
If you look, for a long time, there were only 50 commits total in the country. But one thing is speeding some of these guys up. Not the Cam Dewberrys who have, their spot's going to be fine. Harold Perkins, his spot's going to be saved. But one thing that has nothing to do with COVID is that transfers. The transfer portal is out of control. Kids are able to transfer without sitting out a year, so
it's nuts.
So schools can take them. But what the worst rule is that transfers count towards the 25-man cap each year. You can have 25 new players, initial counters on scholarship. So if you bring in a transfer, that's one less high school kid you can bring in, not just under the 85-man limit, but on a 25-man yearly limit. So if a school brings in 5 transfers, that's only 20 high school kids they can sign.
Wow.
We saw it this year. Texas State. Have you seen Texas State's signing class for 2021?
No.
0 high school kids, 1 junior college kids. The rest are all transfers. They didn't sign a single high school kid. None. And they signed 1 junior college kid. So on signing day, they had 1 signing.
That's why we bring Peroni in here.
Yeah. So that's
why we bring him in here. I never would have thought of that.
That has to hurt Texas State, though, right?
No,
Because
no.
State-
They're selling out. It's like Bill Snyder with Kansas State back in the day.
Yeah.
The JUCOs. They need to win. Spavital, he's like, hey, I gotta, if I want to keep my job, I need to win. So that's it. But it's just an example of all these schools are trying to save spots for a transfer. Hey, we need to plug and play an offensive lineman, and the fact that they can play right away makes them more valuable. So then, that probably 10 to 20% of the high school spots are just gone.
I think the portal is a mess, and it's really doing a disservice. What's your thought on FCS schools playing in the spring? It's so weird.
It is weird, but I like it. There's
I
football on.
kinda do like
I watched
it.
Jackson State this past
I did
week, and I
too.
was like, hey,
I did too.
So football on TV. It's strange, and it's, but that would almost be sort of cool going forward. I know, it'd say, hey, they're on a different, not on the same level playing field. But what you're old enough to remember? What were the Houston Gamblers in? Didn't they play in the spring?
USFL.
Yeah, did they play at a different time, or they try and go head to head with the NFL?
It is kind of cool for FCS though, like Sam Houston State. Like you're getting this national exposure that
Yeah.
you wouldn't get because you're always overshadowed in the fall because no one's sitting there on Saturday not going to watch Alabama LSU
Oh, for sure.
and watch Jackson State or Sam Houston State. Which Sam Houston State, by the way, former Woodlands quarterback, is tearing it
Killing
up.
the game. Eric Schmid.
Balling
out.
out. Balling.
He is killing it. All right, so let's talk. We're going to leave the A&M stuff to the end.
That's fine.
But let's talk Houston. The best players you've seen in person for the class. Let's just start with 2022. I'm a big Wigman guy. I just think quarterback, even in the NFL draft, like everybody, if you don't have a quarterback, you're a loser. You're going to be terrible. You have nothing to live for. He's a quarterback who's going to be special. He's a winner, like we were talking about earlier. He's got good size. He's got a sports acumen like we haven't seen in a while. But what other guys that you like outside of Wigman? And he's going to A&M. Can he do both?
It's okay. It's tough for anybody to do both. We talked about Devon Achane at A&M. Now he's doing track and football, but he's not a quarterback. If he doesn't, he doesn't need to be there for spring ball. So it's going to be tough for Wigman. Right now he'd be in the middle of SEC baseball player, and you're also trying to win the starting job in spring ball. It's going to be tough, but there are guys for and if there's anybody that can do it, he can. He's a kid, great football IQ, great baseball IQ. I think he's going to put in the work, and should be able to do it. And yeah, he's just a winner. I mean, this is a kid that Bridgeland in their 3rd varsity season ever, goes undefeated in the regular season, beats Cy-Fair in the final game of the year, goes deep in the playoffs, and just watching him run, like he's athletic and he tests well, but I mean he plays even faster and bigger than he tests, and so I think A&M got a real good one. There's 3 QBs in Texas. Your Quinn Ewers, a 5-star from South Lake, committed to Ohio State. I like him. Is he the number 1 player in the country? There are some other good players, but I do like Quinn Ewers a lot. He was hurt a lot this year, so didn't put up the numbers. Others, Cade Klubnik from Westlake, and then Connor Wigman. Those are the big 3, and I think A&M, the fact that that's the only one that stayed in state, A&M got a big time.
I'm just wondering if Quinn is going to stay with Ohio State.
I mean, Ohio State's got a lot of Texas kids there.
They do,
and committed. They got Caleb Burton, who's now at Lake Travis, a receiver. But they've Donovan Jackson went up there. They've got a lot of. So I think he probably sticks. Yeah, he was committed to Texas at one point, but I think Ohio State, he probably sticks.
What other guys in Houston do you love from 2022? You are high on Harold Perkins.
Harold Perkins.
Harold Perkins.
So
he's the best.
All right. He had a great sophomore year, but I went to watch him in the opening game this year against Ridge. My goodness. I mean, he only had like 8 touches, ran for some 150 yards, caught a long pass. He had a strip sack that he ran back for a touchdown. I mean, just did everything. And this is a kid that, he tests off the charts. He's maybe 6'2", 200 pounds. He looks bigger than that. It's hard to sort of explain. I don't have normally that'd be a concern size, a linebacker only 200 pounds. He's not going to be huge, but I think he can play in any league and be fine. And I love him. And if he doesn't play linebacker, put him at safety because he moves incredibly well. But he's going to be a really good linebacker. Denver Harris at North Shore. I mean, it's not often you see a cornerback be the defensive MVP in a district, especially one as loaded as that one. And he was because he's a special player. Really,
he's a big corner.
Yes,
he's
he
like
is.
That NFL coveted big fast corner.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the city of Houston is just absolutely loaded. I mean, Kelvin Banks, the offensive tackle at Summer Creek, Cam Dewberry, as we talked about at Tascasita. I mean, it's just this is a really good Jaden Blue, Klein Kane running back. I mean, Texas got a really good one there. It's we talked we'll get into A&M later, but A&M's really making the city of Houston a priority. They have recruited nationally, and they still will to a point, but they've signed double-digit kids from double-digit states. They probably won't do so this year because of the fact that Houston
They are dominating the city of Houston.
Harold Perkins is crazy because if you think about it, Cy Park is one of the newer schools in the city of Houston. Not a lot of people knew it. Because I think if he was I don't know, maybe if he was at a big program, maybe he wouldn't have been discovered as quickly.
He's the De'Aaron Fox.
Or maybe he would have been discovered quicker.
Cy
I don't
Park.
know.
De'Aaron Fox played where? Lakes?
Yeah, Cy Lakes.
No one ever heard of Cy Lakes.
No, exactly. I'm not even
ever.
sure I could tell you exactly where it is, which side of 290.
But Harold Perkins, I mean, you turn on the film, his first clip is him busting through the line and literally taking the ball from the quarterback
that's the game I was at.
and just going.
That's that Ridge
he
game.
literally just came through, took the ball from the quarterback, and ran in for a touchdown. Like, that's his first clip. And I'm sitting there going, okay, I could see why he's got all this offense.
And he averaged over 10 yards a carry running back. And, I mean, he shouldn't do – that's a tough district. He's not playing against nobodies,
Well, we're with Brian Peroni of 24/7 Sports, covers the state of Texas. I got so much to talk about. This is another question. Does North Shore's Demetrius Davis translate to the college game?
Yes.
Why?
Why not? I mean, so he played Class 6A high school football.
Right. The biggest you can get.
Yes. Made it to the state championship game
Right.
2 years. Ran into a bus. Westlake was really good this year. We talked about their
sure.
defense was outstanding. And, North Shore shot themselves in the foot a little, some in that game. But he, lost one game as a sophomore and then
None as a junior.
none as a junior and then one as a senior.
As senior.
That. So he's a winner. He's not the tallest, but you don't have to be now. You don't have to be tall. You can be 5'10", 5'11", and do well. And he's a pocket passer that can run, and it's different than a dual threat. We probably had him listed as a dual threat, but he's most comfortable in the pocket. But he can also make you pay with his legs, and to me that's the most dangerous QB, is the one that will stand there. And then it's like Vince Young back in the day. Now he's not nearly his size; you're not going to bounce off him. But Vince Young would stand there in the pocket, and then you'd get to him. He's like, "All right, I'm going to take off." It's not necessarily design runs. So I think he can translate just fine. I'm a huge Demetrius Davis fan.
I am too, and I think he's the greatest football player in the history of Houston. And I know that sounds foreign, but if you match it all up, I know Vince.
I know, no, Vince. So you asked me for my opinion about the tournament, and I said Vince just because Houston Madison, not the greatest.
Right.
It's an HSE program, not the greatest. The fact that he brought them to the state championship game, I mean, that's incredible.
And that was epic. I mean, they played North Shore in that epic what state was it, semifinal or what was it, the Astrodome?
I think
and
it was the regional.
No, they lost to Westlake in the regional finals because Chad Schrader was a QB at Westlake, and then Schrader and Reggie McNeil, because it was almost Vince Young and Reggie McNeil in the state championship game.
Yeah, what's crazy is really cool. Demetrius is already at Auburn in spring ball, and that's word is reading out that they're like, man, he's strong, he's good. I mean, Landon King is also getting some buzz from Auburn right now, the big tight end from Atascocita. So
I hope he does, because I'm a big fan also.
No,
I think he's a great leader too.
Yeah. Obviously with QBs, you have to go in the right situation. You can, I mean, like Justin Fields, he wasn't ready to start at Georgia. They had Fromm ahead of him,
right.
So he went. It just depends on the situation. It needs to be the right one. With Joe Burrow, I mean, Ohio State wasn't right for him, and then he had the best QB season ever at LSU. So is Auburn? I don't know if Auburn is I think he can do fine anywhere, but I don't know if Auburn's a perfect place. They got Bo Nix, who still has several years left. So
no way.
If it's not, then I mean, Demetrius can, with transfer portal, you can go anywhere without. So I mean, if he needs to go somewhere, but I have no doubt that he will excel somewhere, whether it be Auburn or somewhere else.
We were talking about quarterbacks, and I've gotten some heat about this. Is Tompkins quarterback Jalen Milroe went to Texas. He commits to Bama, signs with Bama, and I said it that he would be the first person in the portal, first quarterback in that class in the portal. What is his thinking about going to Bama? Is it just signing with Bama?
Every quarterback thinks that. I mean, to be a quarterback, you have to have a lot of confidence.
Right.
I couldn't have been a quarterback. I would have beat myself up after everything. Also, I can't throw, but that's another reason. But you have to have that confidence.
Right.
And Milroe does. Milroe's a confident kid, not cocky. It comes across as, and so if you have that, you think you can play at Alabama. Now, Alabama, a lot of quarterbacks do end up transferring from there because they get guys, and the guys they get play for a while. I mean, even Mac Jones. Once Tua got hurt last year, he played for a while. Mac Jones did stick it out though, so you never know. Now, but Milroe can play too. But is he a quarterback on a national championship caliber team? I don't know.
Yeah.
They didn't throw a ton at Tompkins. He didn't. His numbers weren't close to what Demetrius Davis put up. So
they also had two good running backs. I mean,
for sure.
But I mean, we saw Milroe in the Tompkins game against Katy.
In the
Katy game, he looked
insane.
I mean, I think he was like 24 of 28 or something. I mean, it was unbelievable. He looked like a quarterback that goes to Alabama in that game.
Yeah, and he's got a strong arm too, and he's built like a tank.
You're
going to bounce off of him too. So he has the tools. Now, again, I'm going to be honest and say I thought Alabama was a bad fit for Jalen Hurts as well. I said,
I did too.
And yet he, started as a freshman, had a great year or had a great career there, and then went to OU. So I've definitely been wrong on quarterbacks before, but I like Milroe, and I think he can play. I don't want it to seem like I'm not, but yeah, Alabama doesn't seem like necessarily the best fit.
Okay, so University of Texas hires another head coach.
Yeah.
Was it a quick hook with
Tom Herman?
Tom Herman?
No. I mean, Texas has the expectations. They won the national championship with Mac Brown, and they fired Mac Brown when he still was having some decent years, but they wanted that success. Obviously, Charlie Strong won the answer, and then Tom Herman was such a hot coach and came in, and they just regressed. I think it was, maybe this year wasn't, it definitely wasn't his worst year. They finished in the top 25, but if they just, once they had Sarkisian lined up, obviously they wanted Urban Meyer, I guess, and when they didn't get him, it said Tom Herman's probably going to stay. But once they had Sarkisian lined up, it's like, well, but I think that Herman probably didn't do himself many favors with just being, sort of an abrasive personality, which coaches have to be that way. Nick Saban is an abrasive personality.
Right.
Nick Saban wins. But so imagine dealing with Nick Saban if he's not winning, and boosters are the ones who call the shots, and so if you're not kowtowing to boosters and all that, then they're not going to be happy, and they're going to pony up money for your buyout and things like that.
Can Sark get it not turned around, but can he? Like you were saying, A&M is dominating. Killing it.
Texas is recruiting really well too. We talked about Jaden Blue. They got him. Sark had been on the job, I think, a couple of days. Yeah. When they got Jaden Blue, and they're doing well. They got Brian Allen, a safety from Alito that was committed to LSU. They're in good shape for Bryce Anderson, a safety from Beaumont Westbrook that was committed to LSU. Mm-hmm. Now, he's not committed there, and he's looking at some others, but they're recruiting well too. They got a quarterback from California that had a bunch of offers because Sark. He went to Alabama, sort of revived his career too.
Yes, for sure.
And now people see him as part of that Nick Saban coaching tree, and players say, "Hey, he knows how to get people there." So I think they'll do well.
Can Oklahoma's he bring that culture? I don't think it's a player problem. I think it's a culture problem. Like when you go to Bama, it's so intense to play there.
Yeah, it's like a job.
It's a job. I don't being in the Army.
I don't know if anybody can bring. Nick Saban is different and special. Nick Saban is a great coach, and then just his personality, he's not going to put up with anything. That works for him, but I don't know how many guys that could work for. You have to be somewhat of a player's coach, and if you're a player's coach, it's not really. Jimbo Fisher is a player's coach, but at practice and everything, he's got that gruff demeanor. He's a little short with the media too, and he's trying that at A&M, but it's even that. It's just Alabama's just a completely different animal.
It is. It's
but Texas. There's so much talent in the state of Texas. Plenty of talent to go around for all the schools. You should be able to win. And then Sarkisian and his staff have ties other places. Their quarterbacks are California. So as long as you make good evals, and they just need to show some progress on the field.
Who is? So we'll get back to some recruiting for 2022. Who's an underrated guy in 2022 that you can see having a big spring, a big summer, and then come fall, we're all sitting here going, wow, he's going to be awesome.
So we had talked about this guy off camera. Harold Perkins happens to have a teammate, Owen Pee-wee, that is also a really good linebacker, and he plays receiver for them. I mean, another two-way kid. Absolute standout. I think he's got Vanderbilt, maybe one or two other Power 5 offers, some smaller ones. I see him as a potential national recruit once schools. If he goes to camps and once schools see what he can do in person, because he's an impressive looking kid as well. He's taller than Perkins, weighs about the same, but can add weight and can cover. I think he's a kid that absolutely can blow up for sure.
And then of course there's offensive linemen. Like this past year, offensive lineman was huge.
Yeah.
In the city of Houston, Aggies came and got all of them out of the city of Houston. Apparently, if there was offensive linemen, they were going to Texas.
Hayden Connor went to Texas.
That's true. Hayden Connor did go to Texas, so that happened. Of the offensive linemen, I mean, Kelvin Banks, I think he's number 6 in 247 Sports in the state of Texas right now. And of course, you got Cam Dewberry and other guys. Who's like if you had an offensive line, 2-3 guys, who would be your top guys of this class that you would put together on a line?
Well, obviously, I those two are studs. P.J. Williams from down in Dickinson, he's an intriguing presser. He's committed to A&M. He picked up his offers based on his sophomore year, where he was 6'4", 220 pounds, had just moved to the offensive line position from defensive end. Also a basketball player, but just so athletic. He had a 7-foot wingspan or 7'1", I think, wingspan at the Under Armour camp. Just incredibly talented. He only weighs 250 pounds now, but I have no doubt that he'll get up, above 300 and be a left tackle type. So he has a potential to be really good. A little more of a sleeper guy, and you worry about sometimes linemen are a little too big, but Calvin Harvey from down at Ridgepoint, his coach posted a picture of him enveloping a doorway.
Yes.
And it made schools watch his film, and he's picked up some offers. I saw him in person a couple of weeks ago. Real good player. Woodlands has a kid like that. He hadn't picked up offers yet, but another kid, that Caden Siraki, I don't know how to say his last name, but another just huge kid, and he's been doing well at camps. He's working with Steve McKinney now, so he's a guy that could see some offers. But but Calvin Harvey's a kid that I really like. That's not in that upper echelon.
That's the new recruiting tool. Just to get your big offensive lineman, put them in, in front of something small, make them look huge.
Find smaller doorways.
Yeah, find smaller doorways. Yeah, exactly.
Kids some offers.
Twitter has changed the game, and
for sure,
having done this, and you've done it. It used to be letters, what?
Yeah,
it used to be mail.
I used to drive around to school. I used to drive around to schools to pick up film. You've got a Yates helmet here. I went to Yates one time when DVDs were a pretty big deal already.
Yes,
and they gave me a VHS tape, but I had to bring them one to trade because it's HSC's budget. So I had to go find one of my mom's old soap opera VHSs and trade them that to get. It was filmed on Damien Square and Leroy Chevalier back in the day. It's just crazy how things have changed. Finding out about kids, you could discover a really talented kid as a junior or senior, and
it's crazy. Yeah, the Twitter game is where it's all done. It's where recruiting happens is through Twitter and camps, and now kids and parents need to figure it out. Hey, I need to reach out. Like you were saying earlier, you got to recruit the school. You cannot wait to get recruited now. You got to get out there and get proactive.
No, you absolutely do, and be honest. When you're looking at camps this summer, if recruits are watching this, if you don't have any, if you're about to be a senior, you don't have any offers, you're not going to be an Alabama guy or an Auburn guy. Sorry, but be honest with yourself. Hey, where can I play, and where would I want to play, and go to those camps. Especially the smaller schools, they have way smaller recruiting budgets. So if you show interest in them, they'll be happy. They'll be like, hey, we don't have to send somebody, or spend his time trying to discover you if you have come to us.
So we were also talking about this off camera, private schools. So private school this year was a big, Maddox Cobb. He comes out of St. Thomas. He goes to U of H. Episcopal, of course, has three Division I linemen. And we were saying, okay, who's the next guy? And this guy, I wrote a story about him a couple of weeks ago, Logan Tanner. Out of St. Pius, the 10th high school, tight end, moved in there last year, had a big year, over 1,000 yards receiving. He's playing lacrosse right now. He's going to go to some camps, talking to Coach Cranfield. He was kind of trying to talk to him to go to some camps where where coaches are that he's interested in. I think he's got an offer from U of H. What do you think of him?
Logan Tanner's a good player. Yeah. And, he's sort of that new hybrid type of tight end. He's not going to put his hand down on the dirt a lot, but not many schools are really looking for that. And if they are, it's their second tight end. You'll run a 2 tight end set. So, he does well out there in the flex. He can play out wide if you need it. So he's a good player. The fact the fact that he didn't not having a sophomore year when he was at Klein Oak and hurt, that slowed his recruitment down. It's weird to say that, but recruitment starts so early these days.
Yeah, you're right.
No sophomore film slowed down. But then when he had the big year at St. Pius, I think he's a guy. We're also talking about private schools. Dylan Bell from Kincaid.
Yeah,
we're talking about him. He's a really intriguing player because he does a bit of everything for them. He plays running back, receiver, safety, linebacker. I think he's probably a receiver at the next level, but he's 6'2", 200 pounds. He can be a linebacker or safety too, and he's starting to pick up some SEC and some other offers. He has a chance to be really good.
Yeah, I talked to Coach Larned at the Touchdown Club dinner, and I was like, "Who's this Dylan Bell guy?" And he's like, "He's a dude."
Yeah.
Like, and Larned knows when he's got a dude that he's a dude. He's got offers from like Tech and U of H and all these schools.
So let's enter. We're with Brian Perroni, Mr. Texas for 24/7 Sports. Go check him out. Let's get into the A&M hour, or maybe it's not an hour, but let's talk Aggies. And when I saw, and I'm an LSU fan, as we can see here. No. Shocker.
Never.
When they announced that Jimbo Fisher became the head coach, it gave me pause because he was at LSU. He's had success everywhere he's gone. The guy is so dynamic of a talker. Like, he talks a mile a minute.
I got to transcribe him on a weekly basis. That's not a fun job.
The crazy thing, we can talk for a living. This dude talks so fast, but the content that he is spewing is awesome. Like, he has so much to say. And I'm just fascinated by just watching a press conference with him because he's got so much to say.
Yeah, his football mindset.
It's insane. Yeah. How does he's killing the game in the state of Texas. What's his pitch? I mean, how is he such a great salesperson for Texas kids right now?
Yeah, so he's not Nick Saban. He's not quite that,
Right.
But So we're talking
about
we're going back with Damian Square talking about it. Yates. Damian told me what he liked about, he had gone on a visit to Alabama. He was committed to A&M, gone on a visit to Alabama, and this was Saban had just come back from the Dolphins, and he said that Saban told him like I will never go anywhere where I'm not the boss. Where players are making more than me, and basically he said that he liked that Saban just was like, hey, we can win without you. Come here and win. We can win. And some kids like that. And so Fisher sort of has that attitude. Like, yeah, we want you to play, but hey, if you want to go elsewhere, we'll beat you. And so he's got that attitude, but he's also very personable. He's not like when you watch him out, we see him on the practice field, just cussing, whatever, just like.
He's intense.
He's very intense.
Very intense.
ESPN did a deal where they mic'd him up and just like, oh my gosh. But players, they talk about how they can go into his office and sit with them. And he's definitely a player's coach there. So, he sort of walks that fine line. Hey, I've got a really, great football IQ and I know what I'm talking about. But also, I'll take, talks to the parents. I'll take care of your kid. And so
he does a great job at that.
No, 100%. And I think his staff is good too. Some of the guys that he's hired are really guys that players like Elijah Robinson, who's a defensive tackles coach, is from the Northeast. So he keeps signing kids from Pennsylvania, beating Penn State and Notre Dame for, these kids from the Northeast.
I mean, I thought there was a little heartburn after a couple of years when Jimbo was there, and A&M was like, oh my gosh, A&M fans were like, oh, we paid him $10 million a year, but now they're like, dude, this is a dude.
Well, those first 2 years were always going to be struggles.
Right, exactly.
One, the schedule is tough when you have Clemson on the schedule, but your first 2 years, and then just
the SEC West
and
is
just
a
the SEC
bloodbath.
West. I mean, nobody expected LSU to be what they were 2 years ago.
Correct, except
maybe the best team like I've ever seen.
Right.
Just incredible. So nobody's expecting that, but everybody pointed to that their third year because Kellen Mond and all the others would be seniors. Jimbo Fisher would have a lot of his guys on there. But what he's done on defense is the most impressive. Is A&M's defense finally looks like an SEC defense. It didn't look like that under Kevin Sumlin. They recruited well, but mostly on the offensive side of the ball. Now he's got the 6'4", 300-pound defensive tackles just like, Alabama and LSU have. And so they're finally starting to look like a team. And I think there's a bunch of questions, two big questions for next year with quarterback and offensive line. But if they get those answered, they have a chance to be, really good.
And like we were saying, there's going to be a lot of young pups. Like I said, Houston just sent 5-6 offensive linemen up there. It might not be this year, but it might be next year. That you see all this youth.
Oh yeah,
get experience.
They could. I mean, who is a guy that offense on the defensive side, either side of the ball, that is key for them? there's always kind of that alpha in the locker room.
Yeah.
Who is the alpha in the locker room? Maybe on offense and in defense.
So offense. The guy that it basically is going to all come around is Kenyon Green, former 5-star offensive tackle from Atascocita.
Yeah.
He started as a true freshman and as a sophomore at guard. Made huge strides. He was a first-team All-American this year at guard, and he's going to move out to tackle.
Wow.
And, he's the only A&M loses 4 starters on offensive line. 3 of those guys were 3-year starters, so they lose that. So Kenyon's anchoring that line, and he's going to have to work with some really inexperienced guys and, going to have to sort of be that. And on defense, there's several really good players, but, you have younger guys. Jalen Jones is a 5-star cornerback, which A&M just, even over the way back, going back to R.C. Slocum days, they didn't really sign 5-star cornerbacks. Mm-hmm. In fact, they have him, and if they're able to get Denver Harris, that would sort of be a crazy, have 2 on the field at the same time. But
I love is it Leal?
No, DeMarvin Leal is a freakish athlete. He doesn't put up, the stats of the others because he's a bigger defensive end. But he's still able to get in the backfield a lot, and he'll be a first half of the first round pick. And he's a guy that at 24/7 we loved in the rankings too. Had him, I think, number 3 in the country coming out of Converse Judson. Really good player. Now, he's the guy, and he's the one that when all the other players see that if they see a list for next year's draft and he's not the number 1 lineman, they get mad. Like, stop disrespecting him because they know how talented he is. He's a freakish athlete.
He's really good. I tell you what, just a couple other guys from Houston, like Ainias Smith was kind of a weird recruiting situation. The family's got an amazing story because Maurice Smith goes to Bama, plays there. Their DC leaves, goes to Georgia. He leaves, goes to Georgia.
The SEC rules changed.
Got the SEC rules changed. And Ainias Smith, probably don't even realize that's Maurice Smith's brother. His family is really big in that Fort Bend community, mentoring kids.
Yeah, they know everybody.
And dude, this guy is awesome.
Okay, I should have said Kenyon Green is good, and Ainias Smith is the leader. Yeah. He's the leader in the locker room, and he came in as a freshman, made a huge impact at receiver, played running back and receiver this past year. He does everything, and players gravitate toward him. He's mature and he's a good player. And he does everything. If you ask him to do something different, he'll go do it.
Maybe the punter or something.
Yeah, without complaining. He has no problem filling whatever role, doing whatever coach asks.
What about a Chaney? We got to talk about Shane, Divine Chain.
He's
the Fort Bend Marshall running back.
Yeah, Isaiah Spiller is your every down back, at least for another year. He's your every down back. He's a big kid, but Chain showed in the bowl game what he could do. He was the Orange Bowl MVP after having those 2 late touchdowns. He's got the second fastest 200-meter time in the country at the moment in track. Outstanding player, and he'll get even more reps next year. He's really good. He was the player of the year in Houston.
Oh yeah,
as and that was a good class as a senior, and it's translated.
I was watching that bowl game, and the moment Achane got to the sideline, I was like, "Oh, this is over." It was a track meet, and he just turned on the burners, and that's the thing about Fort Bend Marshall football, which brings us to them. Chris Marshall. This guy
Chris Marshall.
Literally did not play football before this year. Is he
you know who got him to play football? Achane.
Yeah,
they're really good friends, and they're playing football. And Achane said, "Hey, you should play football." Okay.
And now he's got a top 8.
No, I think he's going to be a stud in college because he's fast and big, and
he's got a little swag to him.
Yeah, Noah Thomas from Clear Springs is A&M sort of used the Mike Evans comparison with him, but I think that could also be with Chris Marshall. It's just he's not quite as tall, but he's just fast, big, strong. He can do it all.
And he wants, because I saw him in the Crosby game. They played Crosby, and he had some. They were pulling on him a little bit. He didn't like it, and he exited the game early. That's just all I'll say.
He got 2 personal fouls.
He got 2 personal fouls, and that was the end of the third quarter. But he literally he wants the ball every time, and when he goes up and gets it, and then he'll look at you and say, "Okay, that's what it was."
Basketball guy, man.
No, and he's a 6'3" shooting guard in basketball and has had offers there. He's athletic, and so that translated football, and he picked it up so quickly. He was the offensive MVP in that district, and
amazing.
He'll have a bigger senior year, and he's really good. He's one of my favorite recruits in the entire class, as far as talent.
Yeah, Fort Bend Marshall.
But we talking about Noah Thomas also.
He's nice.
He played. He was a 6'5" corner as a sophomore, and he has. It took him about half a season to really get used to it, and then had 100 yards and all that. And he's freakish too. He's really, really good.
And Matt was talking about this at one point. You were talking about the kid down at Sam Rayburn. Remember the big kid down there?
Yeah, Jalen Samuels just sort of came out of
weird,
nowhere.
man.
Yeah, but remember when you were talking about him, you're saying how raw his talent was.
Yes.
Do you think colleges are looking at Chris Marshall in the same way because he doesn't have all this football experience?
No,
He's
even
way
if
more
they are,
polished than that guy.
I mean, look what he did. Yeah, Fort Bend Marshall isn't in the toughest district in the regular
Right.
season, but he did plenty in non-district and in the playoffs. He'll be fine, and he's also playing 7-on-7 against some really good opponents and dominating.
You know what I love about those kids at Fort Bend Marshall? They are competitive. They're just competitive kids against each other. Well, not against each other, but with each other. Like track is competitive. Football is competitive. Dude, they just get out. They just know how to work, man. They just get after it. Most hard luck kid in college football, I think, plays at Texas A&M. The dude catches the game winner against Florida.
Oh, we're talking about
Caleb Chapman from Clear Springs. He's kind of been injured throughout his career.
Yeah.
But dude, if this guy gets healthy and
oh no, for sure.
Did he ACL right there? Like
I don't. Off the top of my head, I can't remember the exact injury, but it was season ending. But he's a tall kid with serious speed too.
Good player.
He was a sprinter in high school. And a guy that, you could just send deep. And obviously, he had a huge game against Florida.
He roasted the guy for the game winner and basically catches it while blowing his knee out, holds onto the ball. A&M, that was kind of their signature win.
No, for sure.
Early.
Because they had just lost to Alabama the week before. That would have put them at 1-2.
Yeah.
Headed into this and said they're 2-1, beat a top 5 team and, won the rest.
We'll get to wrapping this up here in a minute, but I mean, have you seen anything weirder than Manville's situation with De'Aaron King?
You mean the quarterback that never started? That'll be a first or second round draft pick?
so weird.
If the Trask family is watching this, my apologies back. He's a stud. He had a great year.
Then we're talking about Kyle Trask, who played at Manville, and he went to Florida. Kyle Trask,
you know what? Kudos to him for not transferring in these days because he sat behind De'Aaron King, who had a great high school career, led him to the state finals, and he sat behind him for 3 years. And but when Florida offered Kyle Trask, I thought maybe it was as a deep snapper, because he went to camp. I mean, Kirk Martin was really high on him, and he went to Florida's camp, but he had zero film. And you're in the SEC. SEC schools do not take a kid that literally never started a high school game, and then
it was so foreign, man.
And then they turned into a Heisman candidate, and De'Aaron King has done well too.
Weird.
But Kyle Trask is at this point maybe had a better college career, and is going to be drafted higher. It's crazy. I mean, good for him, but no, I didn't. I mean, whenever he committed, our Florida site called me, hey, what do you know about this kid? I was like, nothing. He's a backup. Manville, they win a lot of games by a lot, so he did have some snaps, but I mean, he never threw more than 50 passes in a year. So.
I know we saw Jalen Hurts and kind of grew up with him and with Coach Averion Hurts, and I didn't really see that coming either. Maybe I did know he just always had a chip on his shoulder.
Oh, yeah.
Because he played at Channelview, which is not great.
I think Channelview beat North Shore
they did.
like that, and that doesn't happen.
You're like, what?
That doesn't. Channelview doesn't make the playoffs yet. Let's beat North Shore.
But the Jalen Hurts legend just began to grow, and I'm like, man, are we sure about this? This guy, and then you see him powerlifting and then running track. He could do everything. Are you surprised that he's now the Philadelphia Eagles?
Well, yeah, I mean, we talked about that before. I thought Alabama was a stretch for him to go to, and then obviously, national championship and all that, and then go to OU. So, no, I'm not going to put anything past him now. But is he the starter? Is he their guy in Philadelphia?
I think he's going to be.
They traded Wentz to the Colts, and
good for him. That's awesome because great kid. Great kid, and like you said, his work ethic, coach's kid that will work it. So good for him, and I'll admit I was wrong on that one.
Like, okay, so like we do rankings. Like
Right.
Matt right now is rolling out his Super 60, and anytime you do a ranking and you rank kids, there's always gonna be chatter on Twitter and stuff because kids are
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
too
yeah.
low. And
Oh,
I'm
no,
too
for
high.
sure.
Like, do you just like when y'all do something? Do you just turn off your notifications?
No,
for, like,
because
a few hours?
I'm not the one who does the rank. I give a lot of feedback, but the rankings aren't my call anymore, so I use that. So, sorry, man. I didn't make it.
Don't DM
I didn't
Brian
make it.
Peroni.
No, but
No.
back in the day when I was in charge of rankings, when I was at Rivals, like,
Yeah.
it was more just the fans because this is before Twitter was a big deal.
Yeah.
Just having to answer questions like, not every kid can be ranked number one. Somebody has,
Right.
You know, and looking back, we were right on most of them. I'll admit I was way wrong on, and I personally, I am the one that is responsible for making Johnny Manziel a 3-star, and I apologize because if you watch his high school film, all he did was the same thing. He'd run around for 15 seconds, so there's no way he could do that in college. He did that in college, so sorry, I was wrong.
He just didn't do it in the NFL.
No,
Yeah.
but hey, he may have been able to if he could have kept his head on straight.
Maybe.
But yeah, but I just thought, I was like, at Tybee, he had 15 seconds to throw the ball. I was like, yeah, I think I could find a guy open, but no, he was special. I was wrong about that one.
Other weird stories
off.
were like Mike Evans coming out of Galveston Ball.
Another guy didn't play till his
had-
senior year.
He had no football offers, none, and he was trying to get basketball offers, and he had a couple. Small,
Yeah, he was,
and he was a good basketball player.
But there's a lot of 6'5" small forwards, so I mean,
Totally.
it's
and this guy blows.
yeah. A&M just
up.
offered him it was them and he had one other offer like Nevada or UNLV or something. Yeah. It was,
How about the kid
Crazy.
from the? I think he went to the Woodlands. Then went to Minnesota. Then he was with the Bucks and won a Super Bowl.
Antoine
Yeah.
Winfield.
Yeah, which I mean, his dad played in the NFL. He didn't have any Texas offers. Like,
No.
makes no sense. How about this? I didn't even realize that he had been that good in college. Rashawn Slater from Clements,
Yes.
is now the NFL.com has him as the highest graded offensive tackle ahead
Yeah.
of Sewell. In this, I was like, well, once again, a guy that no Texas schools
Right.
were after. I mean, just proves he wasn't a guy that fit the 6'6", long arm. And
He
so
had
if you don't have that, these schools aren't going to take a flyer. Whereas the
Tremendous
Northwestern can.
career at Northwestern. His dad played in the NBA for like a decade, Reggie Slater. So he had that kind of athleticism, but
Yeah.
man, he's got a work ethic also. But, just kind of cool to see this upcoming draft and some guys that we might see in this draft with, Walker Little from Episcopal,
Jalen Waddle.
Jalen Waddle.
One of the best high school players I've ever
Yeah,
seen.
Jalen Waddle from Episcopal, Marvin Williams from Wilson from Episcopal. Slater, of course, but also at Northwestern, the KD running back or Patty Fisher. Yeah, the linebacker.
Tell you what, once again, Northwestern had some really good evaluations in Texas.
Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of guys being drafted from the city of Houston. It's going to be kind of cool to see.
Yeah, and I think going forward, Houston was absolutely loaded in 21 and in 22. 23, it's early, so it could change a little down, but 21 and 22, loaded. So.
All right. Well, check out his stuff. He's the best in the business in the state of Texas. Brian Peroni from 24/7 Sports. Josh Cook. Matt Malatesta. We are in the Vibe Studios. Scotty T. Yeah, I know you got one question. Give us one question. Because he's a Baylor. He's a Baylor
Hey.
guy.
We won the
Baylor, I think they had a good day yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah.
great day. Does the football program, will they have the same success as the basketball program?
They will not win a national championship this year. Trust me. No, I like what Baylor's doing recruiting wise. They're at the moment they're having trouble winning some battles against Texas and A&M, so they're having to do some evals, and some of them have been really good. They've gotten kids sort of from the middle of nowhere, and they've been the first offer, and then others have jumped on board. So I really like the staff with the evaluations, and they're still landing some kids. It's going to take Arando a while, to really, because he's not from the state of Texas,
Yeah.
to really sort of. To make those inroads, but I do like what they're doing. I think that the trajectory is going
I
up.
feel like Tech's almost kind of in the same boat too. Like,
Oh, yeah.
they're obviously competing against the same.
No,
kids.
Tech does not have a commit right now for 22. I don't,
Yeah, it's
they don't have a single commit. Yeah, and their staff is not from Texas, and it's without camps and nobody's hard to
It's
get out
tough.
to Lubbock, and you have to make a special trip just to go look around campus by yourself. So they're in a tough. So they're having to also make evaluations, and they're looking more at West Texas. They're recruiting some local kids.
Well, see, it was interesting because, after the season was over, there was some, Matt Wells was kind of on the hot seat. Like, he's only been at Tech for 2 years, but Tech fans are already like, hey,
Kind of
this
a weird
is
hire.
This is not like.
Yeah.
it's not working. This is not good. And they're like, okay, well, let's give Wells some time. But I mean, as far as out of Houston, he got the kid from Klein, Mason Tharp, the big tight end.
I really like Mason.
I mean, that's good for Tech and stuff.
They also got the other tight end.
You got to get
Two
some
tight end. No, I don't care.
volume. You got to get volume of players.
Well, they just got a quarterback to transfer in to.
Yeah, they got the Shuff kid from Oregon, and the kid they signed last year at Eastland, Baron Morton, the 4-star QB. He's really good. Mm-hmm. I like the class that they just signed, but this is really killing the pandemic because without them, they're just so far away from everything.
Yeah, it's a great.
Yeah, you're not. I mean, if you think about it from like Houston, for instance, you can drive 2 hours to be in College Station. You drive 3 hours to be in Waco, 3 hours to be in Austin. I mean,
3.5 hours to be
3.5 hours to be at LSU.
How fast are you driving to Baton Rouge?
I mean, we won't talk about Matt's driving record.
Not great.
But we're going back real quick to the 21 class.
Yeah.
A&M signed a kid from Philadelphia that not only when he signed, he had never been to A&M, he had never been to the state of Texas. He asked me if they rode horses to school.
Tumbleweeds?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you're having kids having to make decisions like that. So Tech is the same way if you haven't been out there. But, this kid he enrolled early. The first time he'd ever been on campus, I'm ready to start class.
We've heard that quite a bit. There was a track girl at our track photo shoot. She is signed to Oklahoma, and she's like, yeah, I've never been on campus. She's never even seen the coaches in person, like just through Zoom.
That's weird.
None teammates, nothing. Recruiting has just been messed up for the last 2 years, and hopefully we get back to normal.
Totally weird. Okay, well, that was a lot of great information we just gave to the viewers. The knowledge.
We're gonna have to go back and break it all down.
Well done. We're gonna break it down. What did Peroni say? Well,
break down
read through the tea leaves.
Oh gosh.
All right, guys. Matt, Josh, Brian Peroni, 24/7 Sports. See you next week on Fight Block Talk.